Hi everyone, welcome to my class today. Today I'm handling a unit called Operations Management in Practice, and I will be handling the introduction part, which is topic 1 of the unit. So this is a very interesting unit and also a practical unit, because when you hear the word or the term operations management, what comes in your mind? Operations. Things that take place. Every industry has its own scope of operations management. Most times we hear operations management and then we tend to think of a production industry where it turns the raw materials, which are physical products, into finished goods. So that is just a part of operations. Even in a service industry, operations management takes place. So it means operations management it works in different scopes. As long as there is something productive you're doing. Any person who starts a business, their aim is to be able to give the end product or the product to the final customer. So anything you will be able to do to make sure that product gets to the final customer, that is what is part of operations management. So it is not only in the production industry, it is also in the service industry. Let me give you a simple example. If you enter a hospital, there are operations that take place. We are not talking about the medical operations, no. There is a way you'll enter the hospital and then get to the emergency area or get to the reception area where you'll be guided. So if you come in a hospital and you have an emergency situation, you can be able to tell them this is an emergency. They'll take you through the emergency area. They try to sort out the emergency. If it is not an emergency, you'll go to the reception, of course, and then tell them what you want. Maybe it is a general checkup of the doctor. So you'll tell them, I've come to see a doctor. They gave me an appointment to be able to see them today. Once you do that, they'll direct you where you should go. Then you get, at the end of the day, you see the doctor. The doctor prescribes for you medicine. You go to the pharmacy, you take the medicine, you get out of the hospital. There are those who don't get out immediately. Let's say a person who has come with an emergency, they'll have to go through the emergency section. Maybe after their emergency is over, they'll be admitted in the wards. That is an example of operations. So operations does not just mean it happens in a manufacturing setup. Any organization has operations management. It just depends with how you understand operations management. So that will be the introduction topic. We shall be able to look at basic terms. What are operations? What is a process? What are supply chain? What is inventory? All these terms. We may not define them now because others are so broad. Others go beyond just a definition. They require someone to be able to explain or expand on them. So once you understand the basic terms, we look at the scope of operations management, because operations management does not only work in a manufacturing industry. We shall be able to see that it works in a production management scope. There is the service management, there is the supply chain management, inventory management, quality management, capacity and facility planning, maintenance. All these areas, they have a scope, or they have a detailed area called operations management. So we want to broaden our minds, not to think of operations as something that just happens to transform something into, but we want to see the different scope or applicability of operations management. Once we are done with that, we look at a brief history of operations management in the pre-industrial revolution, where we didn't have industries, we only had agriculture and craft production. How was this happening? Then we go to the Industrial Revolution, the 18th and the 19th century. We see what used to happen in operations management. How did people transform something into a useful product or service to be utilized by the final customer? Then we come to the early 20th century, the post-war period, the late 20th century, and then the 21st century, where we are so familiar with what is currently happening in operations management. Because once you understand that, you can enter into any organization and be able to see this is how this organization operates. In the 21st century, we have a lot of technological advancements, and that is what helps us to understand operations management from a technology point of view. Objectives or characteristics of operations management, of course, they help to create efficiency, create effectiveness, ensure quality, ensure flexibility, cost reduction. All those are benefits of operations management. Imagine a world without operations management. How would we survive in the service industry? Because if you don't have operations management process, then it means things are just done anyhow. Today you can do something the way you want, tomorrow you do it the way you want, but that order is whatever makes operations management to be very satisfying in nature. And then we go straight and look at characteristics of operations management. We shall look at them. Then we come and look at the process. Before the process, responsibilities of an operations manager. In every operation scope, we usually have an operations manager. What is their role? Planning, process, managing that process of turning something into a useful end product. Resource management. Remember, in operations, we have several resources. We have the human resource, materials, we have machines, we have finances. All those are resources. So it means the operations manager will handle or manage resources. Quality control is part of their responsibility. Budget management, logistics and supply chain management, problem solving, performance analysis, stakeholders communication. These are easy roles. So you will place an operations manager in a particular organization and then analyze what they are supposed to do there. That is the role of operations management. Then we go ahead and look at role of operations management to a society. What benefit does operations management give to an entire society? Things like on economic development, resource optimization, product availability and affordability, environmental sustainability, safety standards, technological advancement, quality of life improvement. All those are benefits of operations management to the society. So you can put yourself as one of the members of the society and try to analyze, how is operations management beneficial to me? Once you are done with that, there are so many benefits. They could run to 20, even 30. Then we look at the position of operations management in the organization structure. If I come into your organization, where will I find you have placed operations management? Is it important to you? Is it not important to you? Whichever way, you have to place it somewhere. So to some organizations, it will take a strategic position, which is very critical and you cannot do without operations management. So it is so critical. In others, it will take a central functional role. It is at the center. If you can decide to draw it at the center and then you link it with others which have to depend on operations management, then we call that a central functional role. It could be a cross-functional interaction. It could be at a position where it interacts with all other departments of an organization. It could be finance, it could be human resource, it could be procurement. It acts as a cross-functional interaction. Leadership and hierarchical position. It may take the highest leadership position, like the chief executive officer. That could be the person who handles operations management. It could be important in continuous improvement, and it can fall anywhere. But remember, without operations management, there's no organization. So, of course, operations management is given a high level in your organizational setup. Then we come ahead and look at the transformation process. in the operations management. Operations management has a transformation process. So it means it has input, there is the part of input, transformation, and then output. That is the transformation process. So input could be materials, it could be labor, it could be information, it could be technology, it could be capital, it could be energy. Energy is the same input as materials. You don't tend to think that energy is lower than materials. No, all of them are classified as input. So you can input materials, you can input information, you can input technology. And then you take all those input into a transformation process. And the transformation process could be the assembly process, the maintenance process, the transportation process, the service creation, or quality assurance, or even inventory management. Of course, in transformation, we have to see something changing from the input to the output. That is what makes transformation important. If there is nothing changing in transformation, then there's no need for that transformation. Once you have transformation, you'll get the output. Now the output is the manufactured product. It could be the delivered service, or it could be the entertainment experience. So an experience is an output, a service is an output, a good is an output. And then apart from input, transformation, and output, we also have feedback. In all this output, there is always an element of feedback. Like in a service, you will find the feedback is being given by the customers. They are saying the service was good. In an entertainment experience, the feedback is also given. In a good, feedback is also given. So feedback is critical in the transformation process. And apart from feedback, there is also the control mechanism. After feedback has been delivered, you have to give the control mechanism. Can be able to say, we shall be able to do this so that we avoid the negative extreme, or we shall be able to improve further to be able to encourage more positive feedback. So that is the stage or the process of transformation. From the time something is an input, it goes through the transformation, it becomes an output, there is feedback, and then there is a control. Product versus service. That is now finding out the difference between a product operation and service operation. You can even draw a table with two columns and then put one side product, another one service. And then you can be able to put a factor like tangibility. A product is tangible, a service is not tangible. Of course, there is always a part that we always say there is a tangibility of a product, a service, which is true, but physically you cannot be able to touch. Production and consumption is another differentiating factor. Production and consumption is done at the same time in a service. But for a product, you first produce and then it will be consumed later. So it means a service cannot be separated. The production and consumption of a service cannot be separated. I am producing a service, you're consuming it at the same time. Customer participation, the same. It means I cannot participate in the production of a product, but I can participate in the offering of a service. Like a teacher and a student, you can participate, but if it is a product, you'll wait for it to be produced, use it, and then there is no participation there. Customization, product assurance, I'm just reading those differentiating factors. Perishability, like a product has a perishable life, but a service doesn't, or a service cannot be stored. It cannot be stored. You cannot store a service, but a product has a shelf life. You can store it even if it is for 1 day or 3 hours. That is a shelf life, which is not available in a service. If you have for a room, if it goes empty, maybe it is a hotel room or a restaurant, or it is a hotel room for the night. Let me use that example. If that night it's not occupied, you cannot use it for something else. So the services cannot be stored, they are perishable. A service that is unsold represents lost revenue, like that example I've just given. If I don't use a hotel room, then it means I've lost revenue. I have not lost the room, but I have lost revenue. Demand fluctuation, returns. A product can be returned, a service cannot be returned. Location and distribution, all those are differentiating factors between a product and a service. So it is you to think about a factor and then try and put a product and a service to see how different is one from the other. And then I think finally we shall be able to look at operations management and their relationships with other departments. Operations and marketing, operations and finance, operations and human resource, operations and IT, operations and procurement, operations and research, operations and strategy. So we shall see this operations management you're calling, how does it relate to other departments? Because it cannot stand alone. I cannot come to an organization and just find you have operations alone. No, you have to have finance, you have to have human resource, depending with the size of an organization. Of course, a small organization may have only operations management. It is understandable. And you find that person who is doing operations management is the finance person, is the human resource, is the everything. But if you find an organized big organization, it has all those departments and they have something to do with the relationship. They have a positive or a link between them and other departments. So by the time we are done with the relationship between operations and other departments, we shall be done with that particular topic.